Good morning, everybody. Glad to see so many people on here. It's a really good turnout and some really good discussion. Moving on, so this is going to be my update. It's very similar to my presentations I do at all these meetings, and if you happen to be on the Central Florida meeting in October, it's going to be very, very similar. Kind of outline here. We had a really good year for burning. Looked like it was a record year for St. John, so congratulations to them. Talk about upcoming training or lack thereof. Touch on the prescribed fire enhancement program, and talk about air quality index. I think I may have mentioned it in the last meeting, but it's a pretty big deal, so I'm going to kind of go over that again. And then give an overview of our why prescribed fire messaging campaign, and then regular burner review stuff. So we'll go on in, and so this is our 20-year average. We're doing pretty good as a state overall, especially with all the COVID restrictions and things. It kind of hit us a little bit last year, maybe, but I think that was more of a weather thing than any COVID restrictions. I think, some people's capacity was reduced, and I think we were restricting some burning in some areas. So, but most of that's gone away now. So our burning is pretty good. So congratulations everybody for a good year on burning. It wasn't a record breaker, but it gets us back up on track. I think our average is around 2.3 over the last 20 years. So we're getting close to that line. So again, kudos to everybody for their hard work with that. So our 2021, 2022 courses, I was really hoping to get back to our kind of regular schedule. Normally October, November is when we would start having our classes, and I thought we were heading that way. And then that surge in the summer kind of put that to a halt. And, I get calls at least once a week asking, and my answer is I don't know. I always say, well, maybe July 1 or maybe December 30, January 1, but I've quit trying to put a date on it because I just don't know. So, we do still have the correspondence course for those that are experienced burners. So we are still doing that. And there, if this persists much longer, I'm going to have to come up with something, talking with Zach Prusak, maybe doing some kind of a hybrid class, so we can get some people through without having to put a bunch of people in a room. But as of right now, we just don't have anything scheduled. All right, so our prescribed fire enhancement program. So those of you that may not know about this, it's something we started a couple years ago with. I guess we're in our 6th year now. So this was some Amendment 1 money that we get to help fund certified burner or prescribed burner programs for other agencies. And this year we had reduced funding because our budget was kind of cut, but we did get some pretty good projects. Northwest Florida Water Management, they used some funds to help clear some Hurricane Michael debris. Swanee River, they do a lot of burning and stuff in the tide swamps, and so they did some heavy mowing of about 100 acres. St. Johns River, they were able to purchase some water handling and ignition equipment. I think they got a Green Dragon maybe to shoot the ping pong balls from a rig. And then Southwest Florida did a couple 100 acres of mechanical fuel reduction, and South Florida they bought a big water water handling unit to put into a truck. Yeah, FWC did some aerial burning, and then the Park Service also bought some water handling equipment. The bad news with the prescribed fire enhancement program is, all that stuff I listed, that was for our 2020-2021 fiscal year. And then coming into this fiscal year, our funding was reduced even further. And so we're limiting, we're not offering funds to other agencies. So we're doing everything in-house. We got a smaller pot, and so we're not sharing with other agencies. Hopefully next year, that'll change, and maybe we'll get back to helping these programs. I know a lot of agencies do a lot of good with that money, and I'd like to really see it come back. But it'll probably be May or June before I have any idea if we're going to be able to do that again for next year. So our Wire Prescribed Fire campaign, and this is a relatively new. It's been around for a couple of years now, I guess, but it's something we've been working with Tall Timbers just to kind of help promote prescribed fire. The idea behind it was to kind of get people to talk about prescribed fire in social media. And it started out, the first 2 years were solely on social media. We had our key audience were people that live in the interface, and the idea was to get people talking about prescribed burning and kind of recruit the environmentally engaged residents. Ludi was talking about the questions have changed over time, from what happens to the bunny rabbits to why are you burning with the dispersion of 25 or whatever. So people are getting more wise. There are people out there that they know why we burn, and they appreciate that. And so what this campaign did is it gives people to the website wireprescribedfire.org, and there's tools in there for them to they can add links to some fire messaging and things like that. And it really got a lot of discussions going. And the cool thing about it was, got to see all the responses and the discussions, and there were some pretty heated discussions between between the users. And somebody would make a comment about burning, and then another person would come in and say, well, yeah, but this is why they do it, and they would kind of defend the practice. So that was kind of interesting to see that. And it kind of goes back to what Ludi was saying in her stuff is, the best way to teach people is, kind of one-on-one. And I always tell people, because I get a lot of phone calls and complaints about burning and questions, and 99% of the time, if I'm talking to them on the phone, by the time I'm finished, they're feeling a lot better about the burning, and I think I've kind of converted them over to a proponent. But I can't talk to all 20 million Floridians and convince them that burning is a good idea. So, and then of course there's always that 1% that no matter what you tell them, you're not going to convince them. But anyway, so as you can see here from the numbers, we had a lot of impressions, they call them. So it was on YouTube, Facebook, I'm guessing maybe Instagram. I'm not sure. I'm not much on the social media, but I do watch a lot of YouTube videos. And I do remember seeing the ads come across, because I happen to live in one of the targeted zip codes. And so it kind of had some mixed success. It was different for me, because normally when we do a prescribed fire messaging campaign, it's billboards and radio ads and things like that. Well, this one was more interactive, because we put stuff out on social media, and then people are asking questions or making comments. So we had to come up with responses to those. those questions and things. So it was a lot more interactive, which was interesting. So moving forward, we plan our third year campaign, I guess, is going to be in January. And this time we're kind of getting away from doing the paid social media. So we won't be having ads on social media, but we can still do organic posts. So our mitigation specialists like Ludi, and we encourage other agencies to also they can post videos and pictures on their social media for the campaign. But our paid media this time, we're going to utilize television, and we're going to try and coordinate it with like during news broadcasts, specifically during the weather. I know here in Tallahassee, on WCTV, they always show in the mornings, they show the fire danger, or if we're issuing burn authorizations or not, things like that. So we got a pretty good relationship with the TV station here in Tallahassee. And this particular campaign, we're looking at using the markets in Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Gainesville, and Orlando and Tampa, depending on the funding. And so, the social media part is still there, but it's not going to be paid ads. So if you're in those TV markets, look for some ads coming up in January. All right, so I want to touch on air quality. This is a big up and coming thing. We talk about fires escaping and burning up property, which of course is a bad thing. But the smoke is really what impacts the greater group. More people get impacted by smoke than than a fire escaping. So air quality. I got a message on my phone actually this morning from, I use the My Radar app on my phone, and I got a thing that said there's moderate air quality in my area today. So this is something that we've started looking at. This chart here is kind of what's used across the country. So 0 to 50 is good, which most of Florida is in the green most of the time. The yellow index is 51 to 100. That's moderate, which apparently I guess we're having that in the Tallahassee area today, because I got that message. And then orange is over 100 to 150. That's unhealthy for sensitive. And then if you get into the reds and the purples, then that's can get up into the hazardous. So generally in Florida, we stay in those first three categories. And so what we started doing last year was, we look at the air quality index, and there's actually a forecast, and I'll get to that in a minute. But so we look at that forecast, and we issue, or we use that information to help determine if we're issuing burn authorizations that day or not. And so generally, like I said, Florida's in the green, which is the 0 to 50. And in that instance, there's no impact on if we're going to issue burn authorization or not. If it's in the 51 to 100, depending on other factors, looking at the mixing height and dispersion, things like that, it could factor in. But generally at those levels, it would be something like the winds or the mixing height that would cause us to maybe not issue. But then if we get into the unhealthy for sensitive, or the orange, where it's 101 or above, based on a county level, we'll restrict issuing on those days. And so, the forecast comes out on a website called airnow.gov. Usually by 4 p.m., they have the forecast out for the next day. I pulled this up. This is from yesterday. So, you just go to airnow.gov and then go to maps. And on here, it's got you can see at the top, if you can read them, it's got current and forecast. And I clicked on forecast, and then you can either look at today or tomorrow. And I went ahead and just kept it on for today. And it, it's for the whole country. So as you can see, the Midwest is under the moderate for the forecast. And if you look over there around Los Angeles, they're actually in some of the orange and maybe even reds around the Los Angeles area. So, and again, this is the forecast. If you click on the actual or the current, it's kind of a real time. I'm not sure what the lag is on it, but it updates throughout the day what the current air quality is. But we just use the forecast for our issuing. And so this is statewide, and you can zoom into Florida. And as you can see, so this was, the extreme panhandle, and then in the Jacksonville area, they forecasted the moderate air quality. And then if you zoom in even further, eventually you get close enough and it pulls up the county layer. So you can see in your area, just imagine if these were orange as opposed to yellow, then we would be restricting burn authorizations. Now, as far as Holmes County, where half of it's colored and half of it isn't, it would probably depend on what's going on in the wind direction, but that might also get included in there. So, but this is just the yellow, so it would be fine. Like I was saying, the smoke and the air quality, that the smoke's always been an issue, but this air quality thing, that's something that's relatively new the last couple of years. It's really becoming a topic, and it's something that we really need to be on top of and paying attention to as burners, so we can continue to use fire as a tool. So that's why we're incorporating it in there. It's something that doesn't happen. I'm trying to think back. I don't know of any, if there were very few days that we actually restricted specifically because the air quality index was forecast to be high. So it's not something that happens very often in Florida. So, but we're just trying to keep ahead of the curve, since it's a kind of a hot topic, this air quality. So we've incorporated that into our processes. Okay. Burner review. Again, these are just things that I go over every meeting, just to remind folks, things as a certified burner that help them maintain their certification and hopefully maintain the ability for everybody to burn. All right, so our burner status letters. These are letters I send out every January, usually middle or end of January. And so something I'm going to do different this year is I'm going to email. So if you have an email address associated with your account, and I recommend you do that for a variety of reasons. One, if you have an email, then when you get a burn authorization, when it gets approved or canceled or denied, you will get an email with that information. So that's good. That's good to have as a certified burner. That way you'll get an email with your authorization number on it. But, in an effort to just kind of streamline the process, if you have an email account in your record, instead of getting a letter in the mail, you'll get a letter through email. It won't be just an email. It'll be a PDF letter attached to an email. And it'll be the exact same letter that you'd have gotten in the mail. The only difference is they'll all be on white paper. I was trying, I do the color coding, and that really helps people, at a glance. If you got a green, then you're in good shape for at least another year. Yellow means that you're in caution. So I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that in to the email. I'd hate to use a whole green sheet of paper, because then if you do print it out, then that would probably eat up the whole entire ink cartridge. So I'll come up with something, maybe a border in the color, or I'll come up with something. But like I said, if you got an email, it'll be coming in coming in through your email. That being said, keep your contact information current. If you're a certified burner, you can log in to Web-OBA, which I'll get to that in a minute too, and you can actually update this yourself. You can update your mailing information, you can update your email address, and you can even update your telephone number in there. So, that's a good thing to keep current. Also, number 3 there, also very important. As a certified burner, you have to do so many certified burns to maintain your certification. And when you're doing a burn, you need to let the duty officer know that you want it to be a certified burn, because it doesn't automatically get checked off. And if you do a burn and that box isn't checked, then it won't count towards your requirement. That, again, is another advantage of using Web-OBA. Web-OBA allows burners to go in and submit a burn authorization request. And if you do that through Web-OBA, then you check that box yourself. And that way, when the authorization gets approved, then you know for certain that it will be marked as a certified burn. So this is kind of what it looks like on the Web-OBA when you log in. And if you, let's see, so if you look up here, you can check your status as well as your burn history. And so right up here, it kind of gives you your good through dates. And some people get kind of confused with that. That means through the end of that year. So on that example I've got up there, it says broadcast burn requirement good through 2022. So that doesn't mean it's good until, it's good to the December 31st, 2022, not January 2022. So I was talking with an individual the other day on the phone, and they were concerned that it was fixing to expire because it was almost 2022. And I told them that they're good until the end of 2022. So keep that in mind. Also, if you look there at the top is where you can go in and edit your contact information. Again, I'd recommend going in there and adding an email address if you want to get the letter emailed to you. If not, if you've moved recently, I recommend, because I mail out pal burner letters too. So I mail out about 1,700 letters a year in January, and I get probably 150 to 200 of them returned with bad addresses. So if you're certified and you haven't gotten a letter, you might log into Web-OBA and check your mailing address, or maybe call your local forestry office and ask them to pull up your record and see what address they have on there, and they can update that for you, and they can even add your email address. If you're going to call for that type of thing, I recommend you do it in the afternoon when they're less busy, because a good burning day, they're going to be busy in the morning. So if you're going to call with that, I would ask that you do that in the afternoon. Okay. Speaking of maintaining your certification, in addition to conducting burns and doing your continuing education, like you're all going to get credit for today, you can participate. And if you're participating, I ask that you use the burn participation log to submit those burns. Please fill out all the fields. It's got your name and burner number, and then the date of the burn. The authorization number is very important. And then the name of the certified burner that got the authorization, their burner number, if you have it. And, it asks there for the signature of the person that got the authorization. So the idea behind this form is it's something that you would take with you. It's a log. So the idea is that you would log burns as they occur. So the idea is that you would take it with you to the burn and ask the burn boss to fill it out, that day, so you can make sure and have accurate information. What's not shown on this is at the bottom, there's a place for you to get like your supervisor or somebody else to sign off on it if you don't have the burner signature on the form. But once when you get your letter and it says that you need the burning requirement, that's the time to submit one of these participation logs. So put at least 5 certified burns on there, email it to me, and we'll get you updated on your burn history. All right, again, just some regular things to remember. Your prescription is a legal document. We talked about on this, the insurance talk, like, well, if I'm a certified burner, I'm protected unless gross negligence is proven. And that, that's why the law is written, but it also, you have to have the complete prescription. So if you have a prescription that's not complete, or the information isn't valid, it doesn't make sense, you don't have all the required information on there, then you're not going to be protected because your prescription isn't valid. So make sure you got everything filled out correctly. Make sure the stuff that you have in there makes sense. If you're putting, say that you want light winds, but you're also saying you need a high dispersion, and that, that's not going to make sense. So, make sure that information that you put on there makes sense. Take it with you to the burn, and then after you're done burning, keep it in your files, because you never know when something might come up. So it's good to have that in your records. And then again, at the bottom, let us know that you're doing a certified burn. So if that box doesn't get checked, then it's, in our system, it's not a certified burn. So that could be an issue. Sorry about the crickets. I thought I silenced my phone. Okay. So that, again, and if you log into Web-OBA, you can mark that box yourself. So just a couple other items. The smoke screen tool is back. It's kind of the simple smoke screening tool. Simple smoke screening tool. It kind of bounced around a little bit. We have it now on the Florida Forest Service website. Our spot weather forecast has gone away. If you are a user of that, I'm guessing you're aware of that by now. But we recommend, I recommend using the fire weather dashboard. And then it's also getting credit for this meeting. If you signed in, if you registered for the meeting, you would have received an email link to sign in, and that link is unique to you. So if you signed into the meeting or signed up for the meeting, put in your information and click the link that you got back, then we'll have you on here as a participant. Somebody was asking me through the chat or an email, I can't remember. Anyway, but they were asking, they didn't have their certified burner number. As long as when you signed up, you marked that you are a certified burner, then I'll double check. And I double check everybody's stuff anyway, just because, typos happen. So, if you put in that you're a certified burner or that you're wanting credit, then, if you put a number in there, or if you didn't put a number in there, either way, I'm going to verify what your number is. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And worst case, if you didn't put that and you didn't get credit at all, and you get a letter saying that you expired, then we can get that worked out in January. Okay, so I think also something to remember, Prescribed Fire Awareness Week is the week of January 24th. Let me make sure. For some reason, my presentation is not looking like it was yesterday, so I'm not sure if I got the right presentation or not. Let me double check that date real quick. Yes, that is correct. January 24th is Prescribed Fire Awareness Week. The Flatwoods and Fire, that's old stuff. Okay, all right, here we go. I got some bad slides in there. So this is, for those of you who don't remember, that this is what the simple smoke screening tool looks like. It's just it's not a smoke model. It's not like the high split or the V smoke or even the Florida Forest Service smoke screen tool. This is just, if you remember that clear plastic protractor that you received during your certified burner training, this is just an electronic version of that. So, you would go in, click on a location, and you have to manually put in the wind direction and things like that. And it just puts basically just a triangle on the map. So this is very good for planning. You don't have to have, the weather forecast information for this, but very good tool. I like the way the simplicity of it. And so it's a nice, simple thing to use that you can plan ahead. I'd mentioned earlier that the fire weather dashboard, it used to be called Fire Poker. And I'll go through a real quick example of that. So I clicked here at the Connor building, and it gives you it's basically like a 1 square mile grid. And it's pretty cool. So I did it yesterday morning. And it gives you a weekly summary. So it goes down through, your basic fire weather parameters, temperature, wind speed, transport winds, mixing height. And then it also will give you like an hourly summary. So it's almost like a spot weather forecast in that regard. And it's got some additional parameters. But if you look there at the top, I did it yesterday morning, but you can scroll over. So it goes into today, and it goes in through the rest of the week. But so you get, again, your weather parameters. And then if you go on to the next, scroll on down, it gives you the labori and dispersion index and things like that. So it gives you a lot of information. And you can even, if you notice there at the bottom, you can configure the order. And so it'll kind of change up the order of the things that you want. So you can get everything that you want in a group if you wanted to print it out. And then if you continue to scroll on down, it'll give you the graphs, like the graphic indication of the wind direction and temperature and humidity. I didn't do a slide on those, but and then so yeah, that was an old slide. So Prescribed Fire Awareness Week is actually January 23rd to 29th in 2022. So it starts on a Sunday. The fourth Sunday of January is when Prescribed Fire Awareness Week starts. So that I did have their slide in here. So anyhow, sorry about rambling there at the end. My presentation kind of threw me off. But anyhow, here's my contact information. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions that I don't get to answer today. I'm going to stick around. As long as you guys have questions, I'll stick around and answer them. So that's really all I had.
All right, John, thank you so much for your presentation. And we've got some time remaining. Q&A. If y'all have questions, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A tool in Zoom. We have a few questions that have come in the chat already about folks not sure if they will be getting credit for participating today. If you signed up for this webinar as a meeting today in our logged in for the meeting, you can see on the screen, if you type in the chat and it shows your name, then that means you should be getting credit for participating. So we'll be able to see the names of everybody who participated and how long they spent on the meeting today in a report that we pull from Zoom at the end. So if you have any other questions about that sort of thing, you can shoot an email to John Sadler and follow up with him.
Yeah,
John, I see we have a couple questions. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you would on that. So, in a week or so, I'll get the report from Southern Fire Exchange. So, if you have concerns about whether or not you're on the list, give me a week or so to get that information. Because I won't know until I get that if you're showing up on that list or not. So
that's right. Yep, that'll give us a little bit of time to get through those reports and sort through them and everybody and try not to flood his email inbox immediately after we log off today. John, we did get a couple questions that have come into the Q&A. One is from Donald, and Donald says that the Withlacoochee Forestry District has denied burn authorizations frequently due to air quality, and other districts don't. He says, he says, will there be more training to calibrate the Florida Forest Service dispatchers? So are there going to be discrepancies or differences for getting authorizations from one district to another?
Yeah, so that's always, each district is their own thing. So they all have their own ways of we've got some general things. Obviously I mentioned before, if the air quality index forecast is for over 100, we'll limit. But that's always been an issue, I guess, or a concern is the districts have their counties that they're responsible for, and a lot of times where those districts meet, there's a county line there, and I might be able to get an authorization in this county, but right across the street, I can't get one because that district is not issuing. And so there's always going to be, we got to draw the line somewhere, I guess, and there's always going to be some issues. The thing at Withlacoochee, and this was brought up if you're on the Central Florida, because actually Keith Musil, who's the district manager at Withlacoochee, he was on and he was helping answer the questions. It's not necessarily just the air quality index that they use. That might be what comes out of the dispatchers. Those might be what they state. And the dispatcher that's answering, the duty officer, they're not the ones setting those restrictions. They're just applying what has been set by the district officer in charge that sets those restrictions. So, if there is a concern with what the issuing level is for that day, the person that you're talking to on the phone is not the one that determined that. They're just going by what the computer tells them the restrictions are for the day based on what somebody else set. So that was a pretty politician type answer, but it's going to be different by district, and depending on what's going on in that district, there might have been a lot of issues in Withlacoochee with smoke, so maybe they're being a little more sensitive to it for a certain time frame. So that there's a lot of things that go into issuing those burn authorizations.
We have a couple more questions.
Sure.
In the Q&A, John. One is from Jeff, and Jeff is asking, are certified pile burn training, are those still going on? And is it still a one-day session, he says?
Yes, and yes, sort of. We are still doing pile burner classes, and yes, it's an 8-hour class, but we're doing it over 2 days. I didn't mention it in my presentation because the registration is closed, but we've actually got one next week. But we're doing those all through Zoom with the help of the Clay County Extension Office, and we're doing. We've been doing them every couple of months. I'm not sure when our next one will be. Probably won't be until January, I would think. But yeah, we're doing them over. We do it in the mornings from 8 to noon over 2 days, just so people don't have to sit all day in a Zoom.
All right, here's a question in from Phil, and Phil says, when you mention a hybrid prescribed burners course, what's that going to look like? Could you talk about your ideas on that? Yeah,
I don't know. That's a good question. I was going to have Zach Prusak help me with that, because that's when he's working now with Tall Timbers and doing their education stuff. I don't know.
If it's anything like some of the S130, S190 classes he's done, Zach, if you're on here, I'm talking for you. Like he's done through the University of Florida over the past few years, they have had an online portion that's done through an online platform that the University of Florida has used for teaching. And then they followed that up with field days to complete the practicum portions of the S-130 in various spots on various days around the state. And that's allowed people to get through the classroom portion virtually without having to travel, and then sign up and participate in an in-person component to get the hands-on training required for tools and fire and that sort of thing at different places around the state, so that they don't have to drive from one state to the other. So I don't know if that's what Zach is thinking for your courses, John, or not, but it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Being the pile burning class, it's just the 8 hours. So it works well in the Zoom because, we do give people the opportunity to ask questions kind of in real time. And so we get a lot of interaction from the students that way. And I would like to do something like that if, with the certified burner class, just to give people that opportunity to ask questions and interact with the instructors and the other participants. So. All
right. Well, it looks like we have come to the end of the questions that we have in the chat and the Q&A for right now, John. So thank you so much for your presentation. And